The name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. And for Chris Krok, I want to dip into coverage up in Milwaukee right now because historically Donald Trump has just been announced in Milwaukee at the RNC. Let's dip into Fox News and see what they're saying. It's a historic moment right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th President of the United States and soon to be the 47th President of the United States, please welcome Donald J. Trump.
You're listening to Fox News coverage here on WBAP of the RNC. Donald Trump was just announced as coming into the arena in Milwaukee. He walked in with his right ear covered with a patch, obviously from being shot at. Standing next to him is J.D. Vance. He's expected to say a few words. We'll turn over to that. On the podium area with him is Donald Trump Jr., the rest of the family. I think that's Tucker Carlson up there, too. Yep, Tucker Carlson's up there, too. And the audience is just, it's electric. It's electric. So I believe he's going to speak in a matter of minutes, and we'll see what former president and nominee Donald Trump has to say. The other interesting thing to me in watching this, Westside Jeff and for Chris Krok, is immediately right behind him the whole way up was the Secret Service agent that we've come to know as the man that covered him up the other night, right on his hip. Let's see what they had to say. I want you to listen to a little bit of the crowd noise and how people are responding to Donald Trump.
Please welcome Mark Laws from Cedar Springs, Michigan.
Right now, the crowd is saying fight, 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 which is a mantra that Trump gave us the other night. It's fascinating to watch this, to hear the RNC talking about rooting on Donald Trump. The crowd is cheering as Trump and his Vice President, J.D. Vance, arrive at the RNC. Standing up, three people from his right, Tucker Carlson. Don't know if they're going to introduce him or not, but we'll see if he does and see what he has to say.
Good evening, I'm Mark Laws, and I live in Western Michigan. I'm not a senator or a governor or some other politician, but I'm just a regular guy. But to my kids and my grandkids who call me Peepa, I'm the guy. I live on a fixed income, so I'm not one of the people that watch their portfolios. No, in the big boy Joe economy, I just worry about getting through the day. But I'm fortunate because I don't have a mortgage. If I did, I'm really not sure how I'd make it. The big boy Joe inflation has turned our dollars into nickels. And in Michigan, we got 180,000 plus people that are in tax lien foreclosure right now. So even though I don't have a mortgage, I still got to pay the government to rent my house. And if I don't, they take it away.
So now on stage is a regular guy from Michigan. Let's pop this down a little bit, and I'll keep you posted. Thomas, my producer, will keep me posted if and when Donald Trump speaks. It's a fascinating. I've never been to an RNC. Have you ever been to a convention? I'd love to hear from you if you have and your experience. My phone number 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. I'm Westside Jeff in for Chris Krok. I had the chance to go to the RNC convention as a special guest and be on the inside in Cleveland when it was there in 2016, which was 8 years ago when Donald Trump was nominated. I did not do that and chose not to do that, and that was because I was doing talk radio at the time and didn't have access to a studio there. I would have loved to have done it if that was an opportunity. But that was also at a time when I perceived at the time that security would make it even more difficult to get through to an event like that. I had security concerns. It's funny, I was talking to Mrs. Westside Jeff earlier today, and she's not a politico, but she's glued to this on the heels of what happened Saturday night, which is why you are too. And she said, God, I'd love to go to one of those. And I said, maybe we will someday. And we talked about it and talked about security threats. And I said, you know what, the safest place in this country today, on the heels of Saturday's events, the assassination tip, is Milwaukee. Safest place in the world. One of the things I know about how they handle these events is they put multiple perimeters up around them. They did that in Cleveland. I know they're doing it at Fiserv Arena there in Milwaukee, that there are multiple perimeters, meaning you got to have credentials to get into the first perimeter. You got to have higher credentials to get in the second perimeter, and even higher credentials for the third and fourth. And you ain't getting near this arena unless you are a senior government official, an invited guest, or somebody high up in the Republican Party. You're just not. The gentleman from Michigan, who is just a regular guy, just finished speaking, and the Trump family and the Trump team is standing up applauding. I'll keep you posted if Trump makes an appearance and speaks tonight. It'll be interesting to see. This is the first public appearance of Donald Trump since the assassination attempt. If you're just joining us, what we see is he's sitting in a special VIP box with the family, and he's got his entire right ear, the ear that was shot, covered with a big gauze pad. It's obvious that there's something. If you missed all the news and events of Saturday night and you looked at the pictures of Donald Trump, you would know immediately that there's something wrong to the right side of his head. Looks like they've shaved the hair off around his ear, and they've got it all taped up. And the other thing it's clear is it's hard to see a video shot of Donald Trump without a Secret Service person like at his side. Rightly so. So I'm sure the heightened state of security is significant. We're going to continue to watch this, and my producer Thomas will tip me off, and we'll dip into coverage as this happens. And if and when Donald Trump speaks tonight, we'll have that for you. I want to continue the conversation about the big news events of the day. J.D. Vance is his vice president nominee. Some charges were dropped against Donald Trump. The shooter on Saturday, we don't know a lot more about him. And the start of the RNC. Covering all those events, taking your calls. If you want to weigh in, 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff in for Chris Krok here in News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. So the name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff sitting in for Chris Krok. Just a regular guy, born and raised in the state of Ohio. Home of now Vice President nominee J.D. Vance, who Donald Trump announced as his vice presidential running mate earlier today. Tonight is the real start of the RNC, which is the convention all week long to nominate Donald Trump as the Republican nominee for the office of president. So Trump will accept that on Thursday night. Filling in for Chris Krok. Chris is taking the night off, and tomorrow night off I'm sitting in. Chris is covering for Casey Bartholomew middle of the day, so you can check out Chris's show tomorrow again in Casey's slot, and then I'll be back tomorrow night. A lot of news stories going on, and that's what I do. I deliver news stories and give you analysis and opinion of news stories. Biggest story going on today is the RNC, the beginning of the RNC. Donald Trump, President Trump, has made an appearance. He and the future Vice President J.D. Vance have just entered the Fiserv Arena in Milwaukee moments ago. They were announced, got a huge ovation, as you might imagine. And what makes that important is it's the first public appearance of Donald Trump since the assassination attack on Saturday. He's wearing a blue suit, a red tie, the typical suit you would expect Trump to be wearing. He's not wearing a MAGA hat. Many people are. They put him up in the presidential box, kind of off to the side, and there's Secret Service everywhere around him, as you might imagine. He's surrounded by family members, by Donald Jr., by Eric, by his daughter's not there, Ivanka's not there, but Tiffany is, and the rest of the family is there too. Melania is not there, which is interesting, and they're listening to speakers. What I make of what I'm hearing is the first speaker that came out once Trump was seated was a guy that from Michigan, and remember this event is going on in Wisconsin, and they brought up first speaker was a guy from Michigan, and we dipped in that a few minutes ago. We'll dip in and out as the night goes, and he said, "I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a politician. I have no connection to this. Just a regular guy here to tell you that under a Trump presidency, the policies are better," and he explained it. The second speaker was a guy named Benjamin Josephs. Benjamin Josephs is a Michigander also, and a small business owner. And another guy that pretty much said just a regular guy, a small business owner, and as a small business owner, the policies under Donald Trump are better for my business and better for our country. We need Donald Trump back in the White House. Here's what you got to make of this. You got to watch. You got to watch what's going on in these events, because you can draw conclusions from them. And the conclusion is this. The events of Saturday night, we talked to Bob Clegg a little while ago. He's a political strategist, and he said Saturday night just empowers, the assassination attempt strengthens the bond that Trump has with the American people. Whether you like him or love him, there's more of a stronger emotional connection between the voter and Donald Trump than ever before because of the events from Saturday night. He also, Bob Clegg said, Saturday night did as much damage to the Biden campaign as it helped the Trump campaign, and I agree with that. But what's interesting about the RNC tonight, the first two speakers are from Michigan. That tells you one thing clearly. Michigan's in play. Michigan is a very important swing state. There are really going to be 6 or 8 states that are going to make the determination of the next president. We know how Texas is going to go. We know how California is going to go. They talk about New York being in play. I don't agree with that. It's still Democrat. Ohio is one of those states, always been a swing state. It's a Republican state. But there'll be some key swing states in the election. Clearly, you follow the events of today and tonight, Michigan is one of those. Hence, the speakers at the podium when Trump walks into Fiserv Arena, both of them, the first two, from Michigan. You saw Joe Biden spend some time in Michigan over the weekend. Michigan, I'll go back to my age. I'm going to age myself. I remember Tim Russert, watching him, God rest his soul, before he passed away. with this little whiteboard. I remember watching many election nights where he had that big old welcoming, loving smile, and I remember Brokaw saying to him, "What's important?" And Russert wrote on it, turned the whiteboard towards him, wrote a couple words, turned it around, and said, "Tom, it's real simple. Ohio, Ohio, Ohio." And he was right in that election. That was George Bush at 2000. This election coming up is not Ohio. It's not Texas. It's Michigan. It's Michigan. It's Wisconsin. It's Pennsylvania. It's that upper Rust Belt. I think that partially plays into why Trump nominated J.D. Vance from Ohio, because J.D. Vance brings a rags to riches story. J.D. Vance brings that blue collar mentality. J.D. Vance was born to a mother and father. The father was not in his life. The mother gave him up. The grandmother raised him. You know what? J.D. Vance comes from a background of many people across this country can associate with. And I think that helps Trump's cause. J.D. Vance is not seen as a political elite, an insider, a guy, a multi-zillionaire, a rich elite white guy. I think it helps his cause. He also is 39 or 40 years old, and that makes a stark difference in age between the Biden campaign and the Trump campaign. So it's a good pick. It'll be interesting to see the trajectory of this campaign. How do you feel about it? What do you think about the Vance pick? Are you familiar enough with the Vance? Do you like that pick? Do you not like the pick? I'd like to hear your opinion. I'm giving you mine. I'd like to hear yours. 800-288-9227. 800-288-WBAP. Do you like the J.D. Vance pick? And why do you like it? Or why don't you like it? Who would you like more than J.D. Vance? What do you think Vance does to the ticket? Again, we're watching Donald Trump in Milwaukee. If he speaks, J.D. Vance speaks, we're going to dip in and out of coverage to bring some of that to you. I think this is a historic moment because we have never in our lifetime seen a candidate running for office, a former president, take a bullet to the ear, assassination attempt, 2 days later walk into the RNC and to a cheering crowd. We're seeing that tonight as Trump is sitting there listening to the speakers, and the speakers are all from the upper Midwest. He's got to carry those states. Those states are in play. I've been watching those polls up there in Ohio, more so Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and they've swayed towards Trump. It spells doom for Biden as of today, but don't take that to the bank because this is a campaign that's going to go back and forth and it's going to change around. I'd love to hear your opinion on this, your thoughts on the J.D. Vance pick, your thoughts on the Thomas Crooks shooter that is dead, that we can't find a whole lot of information about it. It's a weird time in our country, isn't it? It really is. We know so much, but we know so little. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. You can reach out at 800-288-9227 or across social media at Westside Jeff. I'm Westside Jeff, filling in for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Westside Jeff in for Chris Krok tonight on News Talk 820 WBAP. We're watching what's going on at the RNC, and we'll dip in and out of that. I got a caller, a couple callers there we'll get to in just a second. Ramon, sit tight for me, if you will, if you don't mind. I want to ask producer Thomas, dip in real quick. Let's pull up what's going on in the RNC right now. I never in my life thought I'd see a union president. This is the Teamsters, International Brotherhood of Teamsters president of the union speaking on stage supporting Donald Trump. Think about that.
Take a moment to consider United Parcel Service, which is the largest private sector logistics company, and it's been unionized for more than 100 years. More than 350,000 Teamsters make it run. We work for good middle-class wages, quality health care, and secure pensions. There are work rules that ensure fairness and due process for both sides. UPS is the most efficient package delivery company in the world. But let's not forget that UPS doesn't provide these great wages and benefits out of the kindness of its heart. UPS does it because the Teamsters fight for it, all 350,000 of us. You know, corporatists hate when working people join together to form unions. But for a century, major employers have waged a war against labor by forming corporate unions of their own. We need to call the Chamber of Commerce and the business roundtables what they are. They are unions for big business. And here's another fact. Against gigantic multinational corporation, an individual worker has zero power. It's only when Americans band together in democratic unions that we win real improvements on wages, benefits, and working conditions. Companies like Amazon are bigger than most national economies. Amazon is valued over $2 trillion. That makes it the 14th largest economy in the world. What is sickening is that Amazon has abandoned any national allegiance. Amazon's sole focus is on lining its own pockets. Remember, elites have no party, elites have no nation. Their loyalty is to the balance sheet and to the stock price at the expense of the American worker.
Let's duck back out of that if we can get ready to go to a couple callers here. Boy, it's fascinating listening to this man. He's a great speaker. We're listening to Sean O'Brien. He is the Teamsters Union president. And if you didn't know what you were listening to on this radio station, you would think, based off what he just said, the minute and a half or so we listened to, you would think he was up there promoting the Democrats' platform. This is a Teamsters Union president. Let me remind you, this is a group that years ago was staunch, hardcore blue, pro-Democrat. And this man standing up at the RNC talking about we need Donald Trump back in the White House because he's good for the American worker. I got to tell you, Jeff is the name, Westside Jeff. When I was a kid, the Democratic Party stood for the working man. That's what it stood for. The Democratic Party stood for unions and the working stiff. The lunch bucket Joe. Let me tell you, the Democratic Party ain't standing for that anymore. Not at all. Donald Trump has come in and reworked the party. And certainly if you want to know how Trump has been empowered, that's how he's been empowered. It's a forgotten man. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff in for Chris Krok. 800-288-9227 is my phone number. I'd love to hear your input on all this. And let's talk to Ramon right now from Red Oak. Ramon, thanks for calling. I appreciate you holding there, brother, as I wanted to duck into this guy because I think that's an important element to the story that a Teamsters Union president is on stage stumping for Donald Trump.
That, to me, is wonderful.
Oh, unbelievable.
I'm going to give you a backstory. I'm a 1996 DNC delegate from Iowa.
Wow.
I listened to all their war, mapping on how to get to this point back in 96, and it scared the crud out of me. I quit the DNC after that election and became conservative. It went active duty. As for this Vance, he's that missing man that Trump was talking about. He is all of us. He is going to represent all of us if something should. I hope to God never happens to Trump. But I am so glad that a union stands up for what is right and for what is conservative, and no longer backing the DNC, which is now the Socialist Communist Party, which is no longer the party of JFK. And then AOC said that point blank that JFK would not be a DNC member. He'd be a conservative and kicked out.
Wow. Very strong, Ramon. I got to tell you, I never thought I'd see in my life a union president, Teamsters Union president, at the podium at the RNC.
That is the grace of God.
Boy, that's historic right there. And we're experiencing it tonight. And he's looking Donald Trump in the eye, and Donald Trump's looking at him. And you can see Team Trump and J.D. Vance next to him as they are connected.
Well, thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Ramon, thank you for calling and thank you for being a part of the show. I appreciate it. If you'd like to weigh in, 800-288-9227. You heard Ramon. He said he was a Democratic nominee, a delegate in the state of Iowa in 1996. Ramon was on the other side of the fence, and he's seen a greater light and sees compassionate conservatism, and he's made the switch. Donald Trump is turning the wave, certainly. And I got to tell you, my name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, born and raised up in Ohio. My dad was a plumber. He was a union plumber. He loved and hated the union. He loved it because he loved it when they put him to work and he had jobs. That's all he wanted to do. My dad was a working stiff. That's all he did. That's all I knew, plumbing. He died with tools in his hand. But I saw my dad get pissed off, so mad. When the union tapped him on the shoulder, his name was Dick, and they said, hey, Dick, you got to sit the unemployment line now for 18 months because we got to bring up this young journeyman and put him in place. And my dad had to sit the unemployment line for 18 months and collect unemployment. He was a very proud man, and that really hurt him to the core. To know that a union that he had committed to, was paying dues to, was making him sit on the sidelines when he wanted to work. That was a different time, a different era. We didn't have the building boom going on that we do now. I get it. I understand it. But back then, there was an historic divide between Republicans and Democrats. Historic. That doesn't exist right now. On the, I got to hit a break here in a minute, and I'm going to tell you in about 4 minutes what that's all about. I'm going to explain it to you. If Ramon called a moment ago and said it's a religious experience to him to experience and see what's going on. I'm going to explain what it's all about. You see, the Democratic Party used to stand for one thing. They don't anymore. The Democrats used to stand for the working man. Lunchbox Johnny, the guy that packed his lunch every day and went to work. The guy who was interested in raising a family and allowing his kids to do better than he did. A greater opportunity for the next generation. That's what they used to stand for. They don't anymore. They stand for one word. When I ask you this, what one word do you think Democrats stand for today? If you had to select one word, the Democratic platform, the party, what do they stand for today? I want you to think about it. Because I've got an answer, and I'll explain it to you on the other side of the break. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. In 4 minutes, I'll tell you what one word the Democratic Party stands for. I'm Westside Jeff, and for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. WBAP newsman Sean Allen, I was talking to him a moment ago during the break, and he said come up to the top of the hour news at 10 p.m. He's got a story about the summary of the RNC that's going on now in Milwaukee. We'll continue our ducking in on some of the events up there as key speakers speak. We just heard a moment ago a little bit of something to me that was historic, and that is a Teamsters Union president, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, stand up and deliver a speech in front of Donald Trump. And if you didn't know better, you'd think he was that Sean O'Brien was espousing Democratic platforms, and to some degree, some of what he said was. But this is a man, he didn't say go vote for Trump, but he was there stumping for Trump, and that is pretty telling. One word, there's one word that separates Republicans and Democrats. I'll tell you what it is in 60 seconds. Also coming up in top of the hour news, Sean Allen in the newsroom has an update on the story of the FBI investigation into the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. He's got an update on that that's coming up in about 6 minutes. About 11 minutes. I told you a moment ago, my name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, born and raised up in Columbus, Ohio. My dad was a union plumber. He loved and hated the union. Loved it when he was working for them, hated when he got tapped on the shoulder and said, go sit the sidelines in unemployment as we put somebody else in to take your job, because he was a proud man and wanted to work. He didn't want to make unemployment. He didn't. That was embarrassing for my father and a kick in the balls to him, to his pride. And anybody that's ever had to go through that, you understand. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. That was a time. My mom was a bookkeeper, by the way, and a Republican. So when they went to vote, they'd walk out the door and they'd say, well, let's go cancel each other out. Back then in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, the Democratic Party stood for the working man. And somewhere along the line, they've lost their ways. If you're a Democrat, call it center-left, I appreciate your thoughts, your opinions. I can understand your belief system. But in the end, your belief system is supported by finances and by a career path and by a job. This is a capitalism society, and it's all about capitalism. And the Democratic Party at one time stood for the working man. And I can appreciate the stance of the working man, hence labor, pro-unions, things like that. I get it. The Republicans at the time stood for strength through peace through strength and security, pro-military. I remember going through Econ 101 in college. It was guns versus butter, and guns represented peace through strength. You probably remember those days of your education process, guns versus butter. And that was, again, peace through strength versus a balance of kitchen table issues that affected our economy, Republicans versus Democrats. I told you a moment ago, the Democratic Party stands for one word. And I asked you the question, what one word sticks out to you that represents the Democratic Party? One word. Did you come up with it yet? I'd love to hear that one word. You can hit me up across social media what one word you think the Democratic Party stands for. Or you can pick up the phone and call me at 800-288-9227. I'll give you my opinion. My opinion is that the Democratic Party used to stand for the working man, used to stand for the kitchen table, mom and dad raising a family. Today, they stand for one word, and the Democratic Party today stands for the word equality. That's what the Democratic platform is, equality. They want equality of bathrooms. They want equality of genders. They want equality of pay. They want equality of wealth. That's what the they've lost their way. They've gotten away from the working man. Trump stole that away from them. They want to stand for equality. The Democratic Party wants equality. And you know what? You and I agree with the concept of equality, but only half of it. Because we believe in equality, but different than the Democratic Party. We believe in equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. You see, there's a difference between opportunity and outcome. You and I agree, we believe in equality of opportunity. We want everybody, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're gay or not, whether you're a trans or not, no matter what your sexual preference is, no matter what your race is, no matter what your ethnicity is, no matter where you're from, no matter whether you come from wealth or no. We want equality of opportunity. I believe we're going to Donald Trump. He's about ready to speak. Is that right, Thomas? We've got Trump coming up on stage. Let's duck in on our news coverage of President Donald Trump, who's being announced. It looks like he's probably getting ready to speak at the RNC. Right now, Secret Service is encircling Trump as they are, I don't know if he's coming up on stage. Producer Thomas, you're going to have to help me because I'm talking and not watching, and it's hard to tell by listening if he's coming up on stage to talk or if he's exiting the arena. I'm not sure which. But certainly Donald Trump is being mobbed by folks on the floor, as hailed as a real hero. what sticks out to me of the Secret Service detail is the Secret Service agent that we will forever be emblazoned in our mind that with had his sunglasses on, that picture that will live in our minds forever. I think Trump is leaving the arena, so we will duck back out of it and hit top of the hour news in just a second. I'll finish one thought. The Democratic Party stands for equality. They want equality of outcome. We want equality of opportunity. That's the difference between Democrats and Republicans. That's the difference between liberals and conservatives. Conservatives believe in equality. We believe in equality of opportunity. We don't want equality of outcome. You can't dictate it. You can't legislate it. You can't force it. And that's where we differ. You see, Democrats, the liberal left, the progressives, they want to mandate equality of outcome. We're not all equal. The effort that each of us puts in is not equal. So you can't guarantee equality of outcome, but you can guarantee equality of opportunity. That's the difference. So when you look at the differences between the two parties this week as the RNC goes on, a couple weeks when the DNC comes on, I want you to remember one word. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, and for Chris Krok, and the one word is equality, because you can mandate equality of opportunity, but you cannot mandate equality of outcome, and that's what they want to do. That's not what I want to do. That's not what you want to do. You got an opinion, whether you like it or not. I want to hear from you. I want you to call me and tell me, Jeff, you're right, or Jeff, you're wrong. 800-288-9227 is my phone number. 800-288-WBAP. Equality of opportunity. Yes, equality of outcome. No, get it the hell out of here. My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff, and for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3.